probably Manawatu here, he's probably sort of like a legend, because I don't know whether we'll get a bigger trainer like that again, because it's so hard nowadays.
When you've got the better horses, you're constantly on the move all the time, and to keep owners would be very hard, I would have thought, up there, but Noddy's done that well, and he's had some really good owners that looked after him, and he just keeps producing winners after winners.
He's the big name of Palmy, and that's what I sort of achieved to do. I've always thought about taking over in his footsteps when he does decide to hand up, but he has said a couple of times he's going to hand up, but the team just seems to get bigger and bigger.
You've effectively got a racetrack to yourself these days, because are there many horses trained on the track here at Palmy?
Not really. There's John Gommans is still here. He does a couple. Calvin Goss is here. He does one or two at a time. And so there's not many others so here. Murray Gibbs comes from Levin, comes up and works his ones here. And so there's not many here at all now. Yeah,
you're the mainstay. You're the flag bearer, I suppose, in many respects.
Yeah.
So how many, at your peak, how many do you work? Because I'm picking it wouldn't be that easy to have staff either, because of, you know, the strong thoroughbred area that it is.
Like I've never worried about staff for the last few years. At any rate, just been plodding around doing it myself, and if I get a bit busy, like John will help me, John, my brother, and Stephen Gillies is always here to give us a bit of a hand, and probably John Gommans, he does a bit of fast work, so does Murray Gibbs, and Matt Hickey, he comes over to work his horses as well, and he'll give us a hand as well if I'm that busy.
He's had a bit of longevity in the game, hasn't he, Matt Hickey?
Matt, he's ticking over 73, I think he said the other day.
Yeah, so, right.
So he's getting on a bit.
Yep. So everyone pitches in basically, and you know, gets the job done.
Yeah, you've got to in this area, to be fair now.
I suppose when the horses perform, you know, they're part of it, so they take a bit of joy out of the success of the team too.
Yeah, they do actually. Like you hear from Matt, he's pretty quiet in that, but you hear from Matt, he'll say how good the team that's going. And Murray Gibbs, he's probably the most exciting fella. He gets really excited every time something goes good. He's ringing up and saying, you know, well done and stuff, so it's great.
So where'd you go to school?
Went to Rakaya.
Yep.
Yeah, just the Catholic school there in Rakaya.
Yep.
What did they call that? Was it
St. Idas.
St. Idas, was it? Yeah.
How many in the family, John? How many?
9.
What number was he?
Down the list. He was the last boy.
Down the list.
There's 5 boys, he's the last.
He's the last of them. And were the horses always in the family? Is it?
Stepfather actually, because he always had horses there, so we used to wander over there and do them. And his sister was married to Noel Edge, which had Laurel Drift and that at the time, when they were all racing and stuff. And Alan Edge, he was there. Yep. I think he was doing the rugby at that time. He was in the All Black trials and stuff 2 or 3 times, so yeah.
So this is Al, who's now the amateur driver, one of the leading amateur drivers.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So we were all around at that time, and they were just down the road as well, so that's how we got involved.
It was a pretty much a hotbed of harness racing around that area too, wasn't there? There was some wonderful names out of there, the O'Reillys and the like.
Yeah, there was a lot of them. Yeah,
a lot of them.
Yeah.
There was a lot more Doodys than I knew of too. So he was the youngest of the boys. What are your recollections of the early days? How did he stand up with 4 older brothers?
Yeah, well, he was, so there's 6 boys and 3 girls, so he would be the 6th in line.
Yep.
And he was, we had hard times, I mean, but growing up, never liked going to school.
Right. School wasn't his caper?
No. So he did, you know, in actual fact, I don't even think he finished school, really. I think they just said to keep him at home. I'm not sure what sort of happened then, because I was out working then, so... But I mean, you know, like growing up we were on a farm as well with our stepfather, and you know, you'd do your farm work before you went to school and stuff like that. But being a big family, we were close. You you know, and still are, you know. But the other brothers, three of them are still in Rakaia.
Right.
One of the sisters is in Rakaia and the other one Dunedin.
Yep.
And Lizzie's up here with us doing the dogs. She's out
Right.
in Tangi.
Yep.
So she's, so she keeps us.
So you've got a branch of the family up here, so to speak.
We have now, yeah. There's
Yep.
three of us here now, so
Yep.
yeah. So
And I guess the hard work that you would have put in as young kids, and obviously he did on the farm, has stood by Noddy right through his career. He doesn't mind turning his hand, does he?
No, and he was more like looking after the horses, and you know we'd get a few there to do, and he'd do all that, whereas we'd do the cattle and the sheep and stuff like that. He wasn't out to that stuff, so
Yeah.
and we used to do a bit of cropping and stuff as well. So I mean, it was just went round, kept going round, and he took off to Derek's, and you'd only see him probably once a month because they didn't have every weekend off in those days.
So tell me about the early days, dudes.
The early days.
Working for the legend DG.
Oh yeah, I worked there once I left school and stuff. I had, I think I was there about 2.5 years, and yeah, it was a good old lifestyle there. A lot of travelling and that when we were there. We had a lot of good horses and that. I think he was working about 40 at that stage.
Yeah.
Um,
So is that when Hands Down was there?
yeah, hands down, that's yeah. Sharrageen, a good trotter, Be Free, Dupree's and that, they were all there at that time, so yeah, so that's pretty good.
Straight in the cup and Delightful Ladies take the lead. Hands Down is coming again on the inside. Sapling heads the race, then Greg Robinson. It's Delightful Lady, 100 out from Hands Down, coming again on the inside. Delightful Lady and Hands Down, they're down to these two. Delightful Lady and Hands Down and Delightful Lady, they hit the line. Hands Down wins the New Zealand Cup from
Back in the
Delightful Lady.
80s, Hutt Park was a big part of harness racing in this country. How disappointing is it that it's no longer, if you like?
Yeah, it was a big drop in the area because like everybody had moved out after it had shut down. Like we had Craig Edmonds and that was there, and Pat Harnett and that. Well, they got a bit older and passed away, the poor buggers. But yeah, it was a great place to go to, and all the South Island used to come up, like the Jack Carmichaels and the Nines and all that used to always come up, and Derek used to come up. It used to be a hell of a good place to go to, and yeah, it was a shame that it left the area really.
And it was a great track to learn to drive at. And I talked to Anthony Butt the early days when he worked for his grandfather DG, and you learned how to drive up there because it was a pretty tight circuit, wasn't it?
It was, and they were going all the time. Even then, you know, like they was 3 and 4 wide and still trucking on, you know. And some nights the weather could have been atrocious some nights, and you know you're lucky to stand up rather than race. And yeah, but it was an amazing little place there.
Noddy, influences training wise and driving wise, who did you look up to, and who's been the biggest influences on your pathway in this game?
Probably Derek, I'd say. My stepfather knew him for a long time before I started working for him, and if I ever wanted to know anything, I just used to ring him up, and he used to just advise me on what to do and stuff, and it used to be great. And you know, so he was probably the biggest.
What's your earliest memory of Stephen Doody? Well, it goes right back to the probationary driving days, I suppose.
Well, he was working for Derek Jones when I first met him, and actually, I think he had a little bit of a praying there one night or something, and I think that's how we sort of got to know him better. But that happened a bit when we were young and that. But yeah, he worked for Derek, and yes, we all sort of hung out together. And after that,
What about moving up here to the Palmy area and where you're based here at the track? How long ago was that, and how long you been here?
Yeah, been here. I come here in about 1980, I think.
Yep.
So I've been here a long time now. Yeah, I come up to the Sam Pluck. He was here. I come to work for him. I think I was here for, it might have been about 4 or 5 years with Sam, I think. And here at Ryan, used to travel up at that time, and that virtually got me going. And I started driving winners myself then, and we used to go to Hawke's Bay. Eric used to come up for a truckload, and used to go over there and stay there probably the week, and had a great old time. Jimmy Curtin and his father and that used to come up, and Tony Hillehy and Morris used to be down, and yeah, it used to be a great place actually to go to, Hawke's Bay. It was a great racing place, and it was only on a little 600 metre track, 650 I think it might have been, but But yeah, she was a great place to go to.
You learned to drive around there.
You sure did. You used to lean into the veins and stuff like that. Yeah, no, it was a bloody terrific place though. Yeah, terrific. Well, this one here is at Hawke's Bay on the Tamana Showgrounds. I think it was a 600 metre course, and it used to have a little wee pipe rail there, and Miss Janie was one of my first winners over there.
Where did the noddy come from?
Oh, when I was little, I reckon I didn't used to talk that much, so I used to just nod all the time. Yeah, so that's how that came apart, really. But when I got up here, I nearly got rid of it, and then Tim Madeline, he came up to open the Space Sale House, and he started introducing me to everybody as Noddy. So,
So it's well and truly back.
Yeah.
Well and truly. Noddy, let's go back to your first ever training success, Super Lorette, and we're back in 1982. That's a wee while ago.
It was a long time ago, Greg, actually, yes. She was a mare that I think got in foal, and the syndicate bought her to get them to get the guy out of a bit of trouble that he was in. So, and then they give it to me to train. So I think it won a race or two for us, and it was a nice mare, actually.
Yeah, I think in that first season, Mod even won 3 races, and you won 9 in your first season as a trainer. That's a pretty fair start from this sort of location, at least.
Yeah, it probably was actually, I suppose, way back then, yes.
Next season you only trained 1, so quickly back down to earth, if you like.
Yeah.
And over the next sort of, 10 or so years, maybe even 15 years, there was sort of about 90 or 100 winners. So you were ticking along quite nicely, thanks very much.
Yeah, it takes a wee bit to get going once you start training and that, and to get the owners and that to come with you and stuff. So yeah, it does take a while.
He's done a remarkable job out of that base. Just explain to me, Jim, how difficult it would be to be travelling the horses, because the racing opportunities back when you guys first started, you were racing at Wellington, Hutt Park and Manawatu, and they had great circuits. But once Hutt Park went, it must have been incredibly difficult to not only attract horses, but owners as well.
Well, that's right, because everywhere you've got to, after that, there's a few race courses around there, like Hara and all them, Stratford and them places. But after that, you've got to go to Cambridge and Auckland, and it's a long way from Palmerston North. And then when you got the better horses, you're constantly on the move all the time. And to keep owners would be very hard, I would have thought, up there. But Noddy's done that well, and he's had some really good owners that looked after him, and he just keeps producing winners after winners.
Yeah, guys like Brian Field that were with him from day one, and quite a few others as well.
Well, that's right. Brian, like he had Bragg and Riverfield, and he bought a yearling at the sales. He wasn't going to be outbidded. He paid $250 for it, but that didn't turn out too good. But yeah, that's those sort of people. That's what keeps you going, really. Someone like that.
This is one of Brian and Ray Field's. Red Mark is a good little horse. He won about 7, I think. He's always a wee bit unruly, but when he won well.
How difficult has it been ownership-wise, being not a huge base for harness racing? I'm picking some of your early owners have stayed with you all the way through.
Yeah, a lot of them have, and had great support by a lot of people. I think like Ralph Kermode, and you had David Manus and that. I think I'd done a few for him as well, and there was quite a few people around at that time. But yeah, it was a bit difficult because there was a few trainers here actually. Peter Scapin that was here, and a lot of guys from Wellington were up here as well, and so it was quite hard to get the horses and stuff. But Ray Fields and that, they actually give us a horse or two, and Brian stayed with me for the rest of my life until he passed away, and that, so it was good.
Sweet for home now, and opening up, here's Riverfield. It starts to put a decent break on the field. Hitting the chase, Julius Barton, the White House. Over on the inside, the Adman late. Blue Gum Motel shines, but Riverfield off the 30-metre handicap is too good.
Best horse that he had, Riverfield?
He was a lovely horse, and that, I think we sent him over to Aussie.
Yep.
Once when he passed away, and that we sent him over there. But I would have thought Bragg was his best horse.
Yeah.
He was a beautiful trotter, old Bragg, and he was a big, strong horse and that. And he was quite hard to get on with. If you didn't get on with him, you were in trouble. And I think Todd found that out a couple of times, and so did Jimmy when they drove him. This son Bragg, he's was my best trotter that I've ever had, I think. He won a lot of races, and I think he won 250,000 or over that. But he's a lovely horse and good trotter when he was growing. Won a couple of group races, so he was my main horse really.
He's had a terrific record with the trotters. Bragg's the one that stands out, and you picked up a Group 1 second in a trotting championship with Bragg, beaten by Stylish Monarch, and I think third was I Can Do's It. So was up against a pretty handy crop.
Yeah, well, that's right. He's a good old trotter. I don't know how many races he won, but he won quite a few.
I think he won about 18.
Yeah, no, he's a good old trotter one. He did a good job, and come from Palmerston, Norfolk. You know, it's pretty hard to do that. So he had to do a lot of travelling.
He won 18 races. He was quite an outstanding horse, but some of his best performances came at Group 1 level that he didn't win. He took you all around the country, didn't he?
He did take me lots of places actually, and Brian used to travel most of the places with us and that, and we'd go along in the old truck and stuff, and we had it was quite a nice truck at that time, and we were going to Auckland and that, and to Christchurch, and also to Kaikoura and stuff, and yeah, we used to always sort of go together, and we were away quite a lot with that horse.
And Bragg went up to take over from Allegro Agitato. About 3 lengths away, Smart Seeker, Pompelia running on, and so also is Leighton H. Bragg's in front for Todd Mitchell. Allegro Agitato, no answer at the moment, and there followed Pompelia flashing home. Bragg's in front, Bragg got the money.
Let's talk about some of his really good performances, because he raced in a great era. The likes of, I think he finished place behind Stig in a City of Sales free-for-all, which he won one of those too.
He did.
Cambridge Miles, and behind horses like Sovereignty, and he really stood up, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He was a good horse. Once he was right, he was fine. He'd stand up to the best of them. He might be only 2 lengths off them, but it was always great to go there because you knew he was going to go all right.
Second quarter 31 as they wheel for home at the foot of the straight now. Third quarter in an even 30 seconds and into the straight. Romper Stomper won over Kenny. Pompelia, Allegro Agitato, Bragg coming with a run. Houdini Star and What's Under My Kilt coming right down the outside. Pompelia's the leader and Mountbatten getting going. Mountbatten explodes. Out wide Houdini Star. Mountbatten in one of the great trots beat Houdini Star, the outside, Bragg in the middle.
Yeah,
and
that win in the City of Sales free-for-all came in the same year that he finished second or third. It might have been behind Mountbatten in the Dominion. Was that one of his career highlights for you?
It probably was. It was a great highlight for me, to go down to Christchurch and that, to do that, and also for the horse to come up and win the City of Sales race as well. And I think Todd drove him in the City Sales. I don't know whether Todd drove him at Addington or whether Jimmy did.
Yeah.
We sort of had a thing where the North Island driver...
North Island, South Island driver, yeah.
So, and Jimmy used to do that part, and Todd used to do the part up north.
And I think in that same season he finished third to our Sonny Wiz in the Row Cup too. So 2 of our principal 2 mile, races that guys like you love to be in, let alone, finish in the top 3, and he performed in both of them.
Yes, he did, yeah. Like, as I say, he was just a lovely trotter once he was going and that, and he'd always be thereabouts. This one here, Blossom Lady, everybody knows about her. She was a champion in her own right. She won over $1 million any rate, and she took us all around Australia and New Zealand this mare. Ralph and Judy used to take me on trips with them when she left my stables and went to Derek Jones's, and this is the night she won the Palmerstonian Classic here, where I think we had the biggest crowd ever we'd had on course this night. So it was great that Derek brought her up to this meeting and that, and it was a wonderful night. I'll always remember it.
Let's go to a couple of these great horses that you developed and were associated with. And what did you think the first time Blossom Lady came into the barn?
Oh yeah, well actually Ralph had bought a package deal that time, and the other one was an Alpatromnia, and she was meant to be the pick of them. And Blossom Lady, I think she was in work for about 2 years without even hardly having a spell, and she was just not one of the nicest mares to work with. But then she clicked, and once she clicked, she was away.
When you got her to the races, she wasn't a star by any stretch, was she?
No, I think she had her first race at Wellington, I think, and she ran 5th that night, but she ran off the course down the back straight and still got up for 5th, and we thought, oh shit, might have something, this old girl. And, but if you put poles net her on at that time, she wouldn't go with them on, so you just had to let her do her own thing.
And she won here at Manawatu, and I think she won a couple in a row. And then she went to Cheviot, and Derek actually drove her down there, and she won. I think Anthony had the option to drive her and drove another horse, Koau Chime. He drove in the same race, and he's probably lucky to get back on or get on at all.
He was actually, yeah. Yeah, no, Derek said, I think we flew down that day, Ralph flew us down there. And,
Yep.
And so we went down, and Derek said, was out in the back of the car park, and he said, geez, he said, no, this thing's well. And I said, is it? He said, oh, I can hardly hold it out there, you had to come back in.
Yeah.
And I said, oh. So I said, what do you think? And he said, oh, okay, pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it won, I think it paid about 30-something odd dollars.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it was onwards and upwards after that.
Yeah, and Derek always talked about how you actually had to be cruel to her in training to get the absolute best out of her, and you know, the stories about working her 4-5 for 2 miles are legendary now, but that was the way to get the best out of her. She was just so tough.
Yeah, that's dead right. Yeah, I think before the Ashburton Cup, I think she won, and he said, God, she's given us some work, and he's still taking it, and you know, like she won so easy. I think Peter drove.
But Derek had her for a few starts before she won a race.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. I think
she won 8 or she raced 8 or 9 times without winning.
Yeah.
And then bang, she really clicked, didn't she?
Yeah, away she went. Yeah, she was bloody good, very good.
What pleasure, if you like, did you take out of her winning the ultimate race for us, the New Zealand Cup, knowing that you'd been such a big part of her development? Did it give you a thrill?
Oh yeah, big thrill. Yeah, like for Ralph and that. You know, he put so much in the game, and he was over the moon. And, I think they hired out the Chung Ma that night, and we all had a big night there, and you know, it was just marvellous.
Blossom Lady in front of Giovanetto. Listen to the crowd. It's Blossom Lady. Blossom Lady's going to win the cup, and she's done it the only mare of the race. Blossom Lady.
You quasi-have trained a New Zealand Cup winner, I suppose, in that respect. And developing her, and of course she not only won the New Zealand Cup, but she won 2 Hunter Cups, one epic Hunter Cup off 30 metres, and again, you must have really enjoyed some of those special moments.
It was absolutely marvellous. But I never went to any of the Hunter Cup ones, but they showed me over to the Indominion ones and stuff like that in Brisbane and that. So, you know, she didn't win them, but she went terrific races in them. But it was just a pleasure to be part of her life.
Blow Me Down, her first foal. You remember him, I'm sure, coming into the barn.
Oh, Mr. DG.
Mr. DG, named after the master himself.
Yes, yeah. No, he was a long little barreled horse, you know. He wasn't very big or nothing like that. So we done a little bit of work with him, and, you know, we thought, oh, you'll be all right.
He got to the races. Not only was he going to be all right, I think he won his first 5 in a row, did he not?
He did, actually, yeah. I think his first one was Stratford, was it?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. And they said, oh, what are you taking him there for? And I said, oh, well, teach him to be tough. I said, he's got to go uphill there and that, and it worked. He was bloody really good. He got headed and then kicked again, so we thought, oh, he'd be all right.
Further back and then running on strongly from the tail. Here comes Bedrock Cafe out to have a look at them now. Mr. DG's just the leader, but taken by Just a Air. Bedrock Cafe, Gold Bullet, Mr. GG still over on the inside. P.O. Kid though, the leader in front here is Just a Air. Bedrock Cafe coming strongly on the outside. Mr. DG over on the inside. Towards the line they go, and Mr. DG has rallied best of all. Good drive. Stephen Doody gets home. Just a Air.
And he was purchased obviously out of the barn and went down to Tim Butts.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. So, but you know, that was the thing that we agreed on doing all the time. So that suited us all fine.
Yep. And he went on racing the New Zealand Cup. He finished 3rd behind Just an Excuse and went a great race, and he won himself a Hunter Cup.
Yep. Yeah, it was a great race, that Hunter Cup, wasn't it?
Well, which so often do we see a great race mare not really go on with it in the breeding barn, and she was a bugger to get in foals. She only had she didn't have many foals, did she?
No, I don't think she did. About 4. I think,
total from about 10 goes or something, you know. So to get one as good as what he turned out to be, and he went great in the Inter-Dominion and races like that. We just don't see it very often, do we?
No, I think the day that we raced him in the New Zealand Cup from here,
yes,
I think she died.
Right.
2 days before, 2 days after, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Funny how things sort of turn out sometimes, isn't it?
And the favourite Justin Excuse turns for home just in front. Country Ways 3 out. All Hearts in the middle. Flashing red back to the inside. Here's Mr. DG with a run coming home. Justin Excuse is gone. And Mr. DG swept up to hit the lead. Mr. DG drew clear. Running on late Wally Walton, Montdenver Gold, but Mr. DG in front. Montdenver Gold flies, but Mr. DG has taken out the Hancock Tyres AG Hunter Cup.
Yeah, this one here, Mitchell, he's a good little trotter in that, driven by my nephew Andre Putama. Andre worked for us for a wee while in that and drove some winners in that, well, quite a few winners in that for us actually. And now he's up north, of course, with Ray Green and that, and doing a great job.
Andre, when people think about you and your career, they immediately associate you with Uncle Stephen Doody. So your foray into harness racing was effectively via him.
Yeah, it was. My parents used to take me out to Ralph Commo's at a young age when Noddy was out there training, and I sort of remember a little bit of that, not quite a lot as I was quite young back then, but yeah, that's probably where I sort of started into it with Stephen.
You were more into the greyhounds, long time associated with, of course, Craig Roberts and the Roberts family. When did the, I suppose, urge, if you like, to get into harness racing come about? And tell me a bit more about the greyhounds.
Yeah, well, it sort of came a bit later. We moved down south when I was probably about 8 or 9 to Rakai. That's my mother's hometown. And I was with Craig Roberts for a while, and I sort of got to the point where I thought I didn't want to be too old and regret not giving it a crack. So, and I used to go to Stephen's every holidays for as much as I can, and it was sort of hard to get me on the plane to come back. He sort of had to wait for me to get on that plane so he knew I was gone. But yeah, I sort of gave it a go, and he was sort of right behind me. And being from the Central Districts, that was sort of my hometown, and it was good place to start, nice and cruisy.
And what was it about the harness horse? Was it the thrill of the drive, the horse itself? What drew you in?
Yeah, probably when Mr. DG was running around, he was my favourite. And when Stephen used to work some horses, I used to drive them from the gate just back to the barn, and I sort of enjoyed doing that. And he took me for a few rides, and I thought one day I'll just give it a crack.
Noddy, you've used some pretty good horsemen over the years, and Curdy's one of those, but other drivers you've used extensively, the Magic Man, Maurice McKendry, Brent Mangos, I know Philip Butcher's driven you for a bit, and Todd Mitchell's had good success for you in the last decade or so too.
Yeah, that's right. They were great supporters of the club and that down here, and now that they've got a bit older, they stopped travelling so much, so it just made it a little bit awkward. But I've got Andre, he comes down quite a bit now, and Scotty Phelan, he does quite a bit of driving for us as well. But yeah, I'll virtually use anybody if they're sitting in the stand. I'll just grab them, you know. There's no point in putting a driver on that's only fair, and when you've got a good driver sitting in the stand. I think Blair's driven a couple of times for us this year, and done a good job and stuff. And so if they're sitting, you might as well put them on.
He's also developed some pretty handy horse people around him. His nephew Andre Putama, who won an Australasian Junior Drivers Championship, and Stephen's given him every opportunity, including his first ever training success.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, no, he was good to Andre, and he's probably tough on him at times, but he's pretty fair in that. So. He's given him a good start in the game, that's for sure.
Here comes Red Stick stomping at them, Broadway between them, starting to unwind as well. Further out is Woodley Warrior. Here's Red Sticks now too. Broadway and over on the inside, fighting on strongly as our Mr. Darcy, and late is Woodley Warrior. They hit the line. Red Sticks, I think, puts the head in front. Fast finishing Woodley Warrior.
You've been a very successful junior driver, and now into the open ranks. Tell me about your first winning drive, and appropriately it was for Noddy. Red Sticks.
It was Red Sticks actually. I had 2 drives the first night, both terrible. The second one was at Red Sticks, and she reversed into the back fence and bent the shaft, and it was just chaos. And I was already nervous enough. And with that going on, I just went into the barn and I shook my head. And Stephen said, "You'll be right, there's next day, Thursday." So we waited for Thursday, drew terrible. I think it was like 2 from the outside, and I had no idea what was going to happen. Just went with the flow, and she ended up winning that, and that was it was quite a big buzz to win them in Stephen's colours, because I remember wearing his colours when I was a young fella, just walking around the stables and things like that, and wear his helmet. And even now, when I win races for him, it's still a big buzz for me, because we've just got such a good relationship, and sometimes it can be a love-hate relationship, because a lot of people say we're very similar.
Majestic Spirit Commando won now for the HR Fiskin passing lane. Gina's Girl, Spurs of War down the outside. Majestic Spirit Commando won. Gina's Girl down the outside. Commando 1 goes to the lead from Majestic Spirit. Gina's Girl, Dunker back on the inside. Spurs of War flashing late. Commando 1, the Central Districts get another win at Alexandra Park. Commando 1. Now,
And what about when you won the Australasian Young Drivers Championship? He's not an emotional type person, but he would have been chuffed. He really would have been.
Yeah, no, he was very happy. I remember flying back that day on the Tuesday, and there was palmy races, and just that feeling, you know, when someone shakes your hand and just says congratulations, like that's a pretty big buzz. And it was pretty big for me as well, just coming out of the Manawatu. Like not a lot of stuff comes out of palmy, and you know, Stephen's probably the big name for the palmy, and I sort of want to be right behind that, sort of be the next name for the palmy.
out and running to give chase then as Shannon's a blast, and they were followed in behind the tempo by Falcon Chief. 28.8 for the third split. They've batted out all 28s. Going up on the outside now to join them is Shannon's a blast. It joins Clarendon Daydream, who's got a bit of a kick and is fighting back, and they're clear of the others, headed by Tula Jua Dawn, and late on the outside is Don't Call Me Crazy. It's a two-horse war. On the inside, fighting back strongly is Clarendon Daydream. It gets the better of Shannon's a blast, and Clarendon Daydream has done it at all ends of the race to win it. Beats in second position.
Another trot he had pretty good success with was Ducks. Ducks won 8 or 9 races and you know was a bit of a Manawatu favourite, but could really trot.
He could trot, actually.
Yeah.
I think that was the first 2-year-old trotter I took down to Addington. Alan Brown owned him, and we worked him here as a 2-year-old. And I said, oh, this bugger might to go to Addington, Brown. And he said, oh, really? And I said, yeah. So off we went. I think he ran 5th that day, and won a good race, actually. And then I think that year he actually raced in the Jewels as well, that fellow. Yeah, and then he progressed from there. He was quite a nice trotter.
Eden straightened now, and here come the challengers. Snow's Big Boy on my way. Duck's not far away. Royal Donnan down the outside. Mountain Woman. Snow's Big Boy's made the lead for Stephen Reid. Duck's the danger on the outside. Ducks has moved up too. On the inside, Snow's Big Boy and Ducks and McKendry racing away. Chaz Lundy's got the second. Snow's Big Boy.
What about the Jules concept? You're obviously a fan, having had quite a few runners now, but it certainly revolutionised age group racing in many ways, hasn't it? Because it's given you a real goal to go for.
Oh, it has really. I thought it was really great for the industry and that, and I think the first couple of times there was a few of my friends and that they got horses in the first couple of times and that as well. So it was a great place to be, and like the people there was packed all the time. So it was excellent. And
a big buzz to represent the Manawatu in many respects.
Yes, yes, it was definitely. And as you say, I've been there quite a few times and representing the Manawatu, and we've had quite a number of horses that have gone very, very good.
Length on Bassini, who loves a scrap. Takawa's there hanging on the inside from Tiger Tara. Sky Major though, down past the 100-metre mark. Takawa's coming again. It's Sky Major in front of Takawa. Sky Major, the ultimate commander, orchestrates 3 Jules victories. 3 from Zach. You beauty, Sky Major.
So this one, Takawa, he was probably my best pace that I'd had for a long time. He won the Slates Ale House Classic here, and it was driven by Ricky May that night. I think it was Ricky's first win on the track here, and it was great to win because he's great mates with Tim and Bernice, and also Kevin and Shirley Farry were great owners, and they still are great owners today. They've been with me probably 15 years, I'd say at least, and I've known them ever since I've been in Palmerston, so had a great association with them, so it's been marvellous.
What about the hat, Takawa? What a terrific horse.
Yeah, great horse he was, yeah. It was good though. Kevin and Shirley, to get such a good horse. I've been in the game for probably as long as what I have really. Yeah.
Yep.
And he was a great horse, and he always put up the best of his runs, on race day, so he was good.
He was out of Halen Express, who you raced as, or they, did you?
No, I didn't race him. I think he's up at Gareth Dixon's.
Right, yep. Had one start as a 2-year-old. Had he shown you, obviously he'd shown you enough to have a start, but He was quite a strong horse. What did you expect him to go early?
Yeah, it wasn't that big. He looked real strong, but he wasn't that big really. But
Right.
I think Phil Butcher drove me out here his first start.
Yes.
And,
Yep.
He got off and he said, he'll either make it or he won't, this fella. And I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, he's a bit weird, but he said he'll be all right.
Back on the inside, Takawa, Tiger Tara pinches a length and a half over Huey Green as they swing. Then Takawa risk down the outside. Tiger Tara's in front. Takawa the passing lane. Huey Green and risk down the outside. A four-way battle. Takawa, Huey Green and risk. They drive for the prize. Who gets it? Oh, it's very, very tight. I'm going to sit on the fence. It's between Huey Green and Takawa, and there's nothing between that pair and a nose-away risk.
This one's Colour My World. He won about 6 races for a guy called Doody. He's a great old fellow, Ernie.
Stephen, what about over the years, how training's changed? I mean, back with the Blossom Lady days or the home stock of Homes Hanover, you used to have to train them differently, obviously. So how much have you changed in that regard?
Yeah, it's quite a bit really, I suppose. Not so hard on them, I don't think. We go out and probably, just do a few rounds now and don't work them so, like real hard and try and make them do a quick time or anything. I think once they get to the stage, they'll improve themselves at any rate. So, and that's what I sort of work myself on, so it's all right.
Do you have your stock standard? I mean, back in the day, most used to work them over 2 miles. Are you a 1.5 mile man, or what's your philosophy in that regard?
Probably just do them over probably 3 rounds, so the track's about 900 metres, so do them over 3 rounds, and then if I think they need a bit more, I'll give them 4 rounds, but other than that, I just sort of basically round like that.
Yeah, and horses are all individuals, so I guess you work them differently to suit their style and their makeup, I suppose.
Yeah, probably do a bit more with the old trotters, just give them a wee bit more, but
a lot of long, slow work with them. Is that still the standard practice for the trotter these days?
I think it is, Greg. They still need the miles and that in it. Like with Commander One, Des said the other day, he said, "Oh, why do we race at a day tacky and stuff like that?" And I said, well, they need to be racing and get that fitness and just learn a bit more, and then they get better and better, I think.
Commander One's one you've waited a long time for. Mentally, is she coming to it?
Well, she seems to, yeah. She seems to have come a lot better now, and we took off the unruly the last start at Auckland, and Andre said she'd begun as good as gold, didn't even worry about it. So, she'd been 3 years on the unruly, I think.
Yeah. What's he taught you about training, and what are some of the things that you've been able to implement into your small team?
Yeah, it's mostly like the patience side of things, and just go with the horse and don't push it too much and things like that. And even driving the trotters, like my experience driving the trotters, he's taught me a lot in that way, just to be relaxed. Sometimes I used to be a little bit rough, and he just had me aside and just say that you just got to be relaxed with the trotters, as they're a bit fragile. So yeah, I enjoy driving the trotters because of that.
Noddy did a lot of his own shoeing as well, and with the trotter, that's a huge advantage, isn't it?
Yep, that's right. He does do a lot of his own shoeing. He still does a bit now, actually.
Just on the shoeing, so CJ taught you that. I mean, being where you are now and have been here for obviously quite a long period of time, it would be hugely advantageous to be able to do that on picking.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. I give it up for quite some time now.
Yep.
Stephen Gillies actually.
Yeah.
He done a lot for us as well, and that was really good. So, but just over the last probably 2 years, I've been doing it all myself again. So,
yep. Yeah. And there's a real art to it, particularly with the trotters.
Yeah, it is really. Yeah, you sort of know your trotters once you're driving them, and that you can either put more weight on or less weight, or put some bars on them to help them. I think it's been good over the years just to have all that experience that I learnt down south.
He used to give me a bit of stick because I used to just stand there and watch him shoe them, and he was getting the sweat up and I wasn't. So yeah, he's always tried to get me to get into the shoeing side of things, but I sort of wasn't too keen on it. But lately I've just started putting some shoes on and getting around that sort of thing, because I know it can save you quite a bit of money if you can do it yourself.
And he's obviously very good at it.
Oh, he's real good at shoeing the trotters, and he's not so enthusiastic to shoe them these days, but he has to do the odd few. But he was real good at shoeing the trotters, like getting their feet properly round and things like that.
What sort of armchair driver are you? What sort of stand watcher are you? Do you get frustrated at times? How do you handle it, having known that you've driven over 400 yourself?
Oh yeah, sometimes I handle it pretty good. Other times I don't handle it so well, But yeah, you basically say to them what you sort of want them to do, and if they go the opposite way, they sort of brush you off a little bit. But never mind. Even Scotty the other day, I think he drove big as Chevron at Auckland and went to take the passing lane. I thought he let it go too quick, but he reckoned he didn't. But, that Gallatin got put out, and like it should have won.
Yeah.
The way it was going and that. But so he got on the TV and the other night and gave me a bit of stick about it.
Did he?
Yeah. Yeah. But that's just what it's like, and I can really tell what they're doing. And I know how good the horse is going, and that's why they were up there at that stage, and I thought they'd both win.
What sort of a grandstand driver is he? What sort of instructions does he give you? And is he not scared to let you know when you've mucked it up?
Yeah, probably we're related, as he's my uncle and I'm his nephew, so he's not afraid to give me a little bit of stick, and I'm not afraid to give it back sometimes, and that can cause a couple of arguments. But, we always have a giggle after it, and the best thing with him is that he's just straight up. Like, he'll just tell me that I've mucked up, and that's where I've sort of learnt just to, even with myself, just to be honest when I've made a mistake. It sort of makes you the better person and the driver if you can when you make a muck up.
I don't think I'd like to go out there and drive for him sometimes, and especially if I didn't go too good, I think I'd give it to someone else to bring back.
Is he not the sort of bloke you'd sit by in the stand while he's got a couple in?
No. He normally stays over here by his barn and looks over the fence.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I mean, sometimes you have to be like that with drivers because you've got owners that will come to you anyway. He's had recently with young Andre driving. Well, he's been going pretty good, Andre.
He's a very good driver, isn't he?
Yeah. And but I mean, they make mistakes. So if you don't tell them they haven't made a mistake, well, they're never going to learn.
If they get told, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Andre, his record, he's actually driven more winners than he's trained. Does that surprise you? And he's sort of heading towards 500 in both spheres, if you like. I think we underestimate just how good a driver he was.
Yeah,
or is still.
Yeah, well, he can still drive them. He's definitely a good driver, especially back in the day when he had the up and go with Brian Field. Drive a lot for him, and probably when he had that accident at Nelson that time, it sort of just knocked his confidence a wee bit, and he was pretty battered up for a while. But look, he's not so big on the driving things now. That's why he used to give me quite a few of the drives, and the odd time he'd have to drive one, even though he didn't want to. But end of the day, like, he can still do it. It's just a matter of if he wants to get out there and drive. And I learned a lot of my driving bits from him.
His driving record's quite remarkable, Jim. He's driven more winners than he's trained, which I suppose surprised me because he doesn't drive as often these days. Does it surprise you?
I knew he'd driven a lot of winners. Probably didn't quite know there's that many, but I did get told a wee while ago, actually. Michael O'Brien told me that when I saw him. And he said he'd driven so many winners, and that doesn't surprise me. He used to be a good driver. And up there he used to have a lot of horses himself and used to drive them a lot. And I think I finished them off actually. I was in front at Nelson one day and fell gun into the back, and there was a big pile up, and he broke his leg in about 3 places and had screws and that in it, and he didn't really drive much for a while after that.
Well, the time when I crashed at Nelson, and I think that was the prelude to the Nelson Cup and that, and like I broke my bone in 3 places and that, and then I was sort of in and out of hospital for bloody 2.5 years, I think, and I had to actually employ somebody, and the money I was getting from ACC wasn't enough to cover the employment, so I thought, I'll just take a backward step and let other people do it, and I was getting a wee bit older then as well, so I thought, it's time to do that. And now I just drive the odd trotter as two and a couple of paces that are playing up a wee bit. And,
Yeah, so that it's more education these days, and particularly with the trotters, that can be, you know, really advantageous for you as a trainer, isn't it, to work out where they're touching and shoeing wise and all of those sorts of things.
Yeah, that's right. You know, and if some of them are a wee bit of trouble, and I drive them and I think they're not too bad, well then Jim will come up and he'll have a wee driving them and he'll just say what's going on and stuff. So I just alter it from whatever we both think, really.
Yeah, it's one of your great associations with J.E.F. Curtin, and what a master horseman he's been over a long period of time, and a great mate of yours.
Definitely has been. And, you know, like I think this year he's come up most of the meetings because he said, oh, you're having trouble getting a driver up there all the time. And he said, oh, I'll book and come up. And I said, oh, that'd be great, Jim. So he's been up most of the year.
Likes a quiet ale post races, as you do, and there's plenty of yarns come out of that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think we're all at that age now. We all like a few ales and that now, and you know, if you can't enjoy life now, well, it's not. You know, you must not be here now.
Bet you there'll be some challenges over the years, you know, travel challenges and that. But he's never complained, has he?
No, he loves it. Loves getting away, I think.
He loves a trip away, doesn't he?
He does.
Right, the Gillmeister, he was trained by a good friend of mine, Donnie Morrison, down in Blenheim, and I owned a share in this one, and I think it's our first winner together.
What's different about the Stephen Doody regime from the 80s and even 90s to now, and where do the horses stay, and how does that all sort of work out?
Nowadays, I sort of, if I'm going south, I'll stop off at Blenheim. I've got a great mate there, Donnie Morrison.
Yep.
And I stay with him and Shirley for a couple of nights, and then we travel down on after that, you know, and then go to Jimmy's and stay at Jimmy's for how long it ever takes.
Yeah.
And if I got to come home, Jimmy and Sandy look after the horse, so it's no problems at all.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Monday night, Golden Mile, is that still the routine for the roast? Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I thought he was a bit late the other night when I rang him. He was only going in there, and that was about 5:30, and I thought, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. You find yourself getting into their routine, but I'm sure you love it when you're down there.
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah, like at the Cup time and that one, I've been down there a few times. You go there on a Wednesday to the Gold Mile as well, and there's a lot of people come there, you know, just to see Jim and that and have a drink.
Well, they know where he is, don't they?
Yeah,
So
that's right. So it's great.
And what about going north? What about, say it's at Alexandra Park on a Friday night? How does the week pan out in regards to that?
Yeah, with that I'll probably go on a Wednesday now because of the traffic and that in Auckland, so I go on Wednesday and stay in at Cambridge. Peter Fraser, I put my horses there at his place. He's just opposite the track at Cambridge.
Yep.
And stay with Andrew and Lynn Neal.
Yep.
And so I'll stay there for 2 or 3 days and then come back after that.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you find that? Do you make it enjoyable, or is it a bit more of a task sometimes?
Oh, I think it's a bit more enjoyable now, but before when I was doing a bigger team it was a bit tough. Because I used to go up and then come back. Now I can go up and have 2 or 3 days there and then come back after that. And one time I never used to stop on the road, I just keep going all the way through, but now a bit more relaxed to stop and have a cup of tea or you know, something like that. But before I'd never ever do that.
John here, he's in charge of the track. Do you give him any advice on how to prepare it?
Always giving him advice. No, he's got to know it now. He's done it now for about 12 years now, so it's pretty easy for him these days and that, and we put up with each other for that long so we can keep going for a bit longer, I think. This one here is one of my gallopers that I had, probably the first one that I had, and it was trained by John Sargent, and it was called Two Dudes because my brother and I owned it, and he done alright actually, sold him off, so it's a very good result.
What about hours-wise now, being your own boss and pretty much the sole operator? What do you do on a weekly basis?
Oh yeah, well now we're working our galloper with my partner Nicky Hurdle, and we've got a galloper, so we get up about 10 to 5 now and got to be at the galloping track at 5:30, We do him and we finish him about probably 6:10, and then I come over here and probably stay here most of the day. Bar Wednesday afternoons and Fridays afternoons when I play over the golf.
Yeah, you've become pretty keen on that as well, and you got a mate who owns a cafe, and you rock there a couple of times a week. But so you should be able to, you know. Is that how you feel about it?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and that's what. Excuse me, that Jacko's cafe in town here, you know, and he says the same thing. You know, you need a bit of time out, so we have our
golf
time
shall
out.
go.
Yeah, so we both like golf, and we both go out and play, you know, each week.
Yep. Depending on who's listening here, what handicap are you on? Because you might want to take a couple of dollars off some of the other boys around the country. But what do you play off?
I'm playing off an 18 now.
Yep.
Was on a 13, but out to 18 in the winter time gets you a bit, but it will improve again.
The track there, it's a bit of an institution at Palmy, isn't it? With his brother John doing the main maintenance there, and it's like their own paradise, isn't it, in many ways?
Oh, it is, and everyone says they've got things organised when everyone comes up for a trip. The horse paddocks are organised, the boxes there for everybody, so yeah, they organise it very well.
Yeah, but Curdy, they love doing it, don't they?
Well, they do, and that's the whole thing about going there, that everyone enjoys it, and that makes a big difference to places these days, keeps them going.
The numbers have dropped off considerably. What is the future for harness racing in the lower North Island, in your opinion?
Like, it's going to be hard, Greg, over the next probably 4 to 5 years even, you know, because if the state money doesn't kick up a wee bit, like, people will stop coming down and stuff, because it does make it hard when you're travelling like that. And, you know, there's only so many horses around nowadays, the breeding's gone down, and, you know, I just hope that we can keep surviving. Well, we will survive because we're doing it right. We've got money in the kitty and stuff like that. So, you know, we just hope like the racing goes, or the state money goes up, we'll be good.
Yeah, having some younger people come through, particularly in this area, is going to prove more and more challenging as well.
Yes, I haven't seen any younger people coming through at all, to be fair. You know, so it makes it quite hard, really. I think we're all sort of around my age group and that's about all that's left here. You know,
it is hard from here. And it's even getting harder now, you know, the numbers dropping away, but and owners passing on and stuff like that. And but yeah, he keeps battling though.
What about the future, Noddy? What would you like to keep on plugging away here, playing your golf a couple of times a week? And
yeah. Well, I'd probably just like to, cut down about 5 or 6 and just plod away if I can, you know. But you still got to have an income, and you still need money coming in, because life doesn't get any easier.
No, bills still have to be paid.
Yep.
The future of harness racing here at Palmy, it looks pretty bright.
Yeah, we're going. The club's going very good, and that we're holding our own. And last year was probably first year we lost a wee bit of money, you know. But other than that, it's been very good. And I think there's 27 acres here. We own the whole lot here, and it's all in the town boundary. So, you know, we should be right for quite a few years.
And what about the track here? Your brother takes care of it, so I suppose you can't knock him too much. But there's a few who travel now, having the likes of Michael House, and he brought Blair Orange with him. It can only help because it's lifting the profile of the Manawatu Racing Club, Harness Racing Club.
It has, yeah. And you know, to be fair, Blair and Michael do like the track, and they think it's a very good track. And you know, no track's any good if it's wet.
Yep.
No matter where you go to, you know, it's awful. But we've been pretty good here. We've only had a couple of wet days this year, and they were shockers when they were. But with Michael and Blair being here, it has got the turnovers up a wee bit and stuff. So, you know, hopefully they keep coming. We'll be here for another few years.
Marshall leads, but here's Madiba. Now, Dudes wants the front here, and Madiba will take over 2 circuits to go. He is pricked onto the Pioneer Highway turn.
What do you reckon Stephen Doody's legacy will be when he gives up the game? Because he's so understated. He never likes talking about himself, but he's carved out quite some career, hasn't he?
Well, he has, yeah. It'd be very hard to get him on the TV. I bet you that would be pretty hard. But yeah. No, he's done a very good job, and he's worked very hard to get what he's done, and he deserves everything he gets, really.
Go. Madiba's sent for home here by Dudes, leads by 2, Ask Me Art. Genora's run to 3rd, Carbonado's run to 4th, back on the inside. He's fast and furious. Madiba comes for home, though.
Stephen's record speaks for itself. How do you reckon he'll be remembered when he finally does decide to hand up the reins? And I'm not suggesting for a moment that that's going to be soon, but how do you reckon he'll be remembered in the industry?
He'll be very remembered a lot, as in like from the Manawatu, and you know, he's the big name of Palmy, and that's what I sort of achieved to do. I've always thought about taking over in his footsteps when he does decide to hand up, but he has said a couple of times he's going to hand up, but the team just seems to get bigger and bigger.
And he keeps winning races, and whilst he's doing that, he ain't giving up in the short term, is he?
No, that's right. He still gets them home at Palmy.
Madiba a length and a half, Ask Me Yard. Up on the outside, Janora Carbonado. It's Madiba holding on by 2, Ask Me Yard. Janora a late dash, but Madiba's in front. Dudes gets the best out of Madiba in the Son of Better's Delight. Oh, he wants to knock off. He's still got the ears pricked, but he's still too good. Madiba wins by half a length. Second, Janora. They were followed by Ask Me Yard, then Carbonado. They were followed back in the field. He's fast and furious. Further back in the field then to Sorchi Hall. The early gallop didn't help for him. Amira was back, Al Wicklow. Master of Escape to be the last. And the Kevin and Shirley Farrier Mobile. Apt it should be won by Dudes. Stephen Doody. He was the one that prepared the Prince of Palmy and so many wonderful horses for the farriers over the years.
The new season, I think there's about 18 meetings on the card, so having the double headers as well should be a great attraction for people to come and stay a few days, and therefore the economy benefits from it in this area.
Yes, it does actually. It does. You know, every now and then you'll get quite a lot of people here, you know, but some other nights it's like anywhere else. There's nobody going, you know, but we've been quite lucky this year.
All right, so life's been pretty good.
I would say it's been excellent. Thank you.